Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneur grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your hosts.
Hello, and welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I am a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I have inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. My co-host Kimberly is not with us, and we will miss her in her absence. I'm delighted to have this exciting conversation with our guest today. Dr. Kit Evans Ford is a spiritual director, a social entrepreneur, and the founder of Argrow's House of Healing and Hope in Davenport, Iowa, and Moline, Illinois. Now, Argrow is a safe space where free services are offered daily for women healing from violence in the Quad City regions. Argrow's House is also a social enterprise where women healing from violence create beautiful bath products that provide a living wage for themselves and a safe space that celebrates who they are. Additionally, Dr. Kit is the founder of Autistic Loved, LLC, and Autistic Loved Foundation. And with a team of graphic illustrators and engineers, she created food-grade silicone pendants called chewery for children with autism, spectrum disorder, and sensory processing disorder. Her pendants are the first invented that celebrate the beauty and diversity of autistic children. And the line now includes a variety of pendants, oral, motor, and sensory resources, and vending machines. Now, Autistic Loved has an open play sensory gym providing programming for kids with special needs. And Dr. Kidd is the author of 101 Testimonies of Hope, Life Stories to Encourage Your Faith in God, and a children's book on Bishop Richard Allen, A Non-Violence Journey. Her distinguished awards include a Champions of Love, the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award for Public Service benefiting local communities, and the Tom Locke Innovative Leaders Award. Dr. Kit also resides in Bedford, Iowa with her husband, the Reverend Dr. Pastor Dwight L. Ford, and children, Imani and Justice. Dr. Kit, it's good to see you.
And it's good to see you, Stephen. We are here, man. We are here.
All right, so let us jump in. In 2017, you attended the Do Good X Accelerator with just an idea to launch your first business, Argrow House. Now, fast forward today, you've opened a new space for Argrow's House, expanded Autistic Loved to include a sensory gym. You've launched a social innovation hub and even premiered a documentary highlighting social enterprise in the Quad City. So tell us, what would you say are the 1 or 2 key factors that have driven your incredible growth and success over the past 7 to 8 years?
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm still learning, especially learning as a supervisor, what works with staffing and other things. That's a whole another, reality as you grow as an organization. But I would say probably the secret to our growth has really just been focusing on the needs of the community and doing our best to serve the community. With Argrow's House, we work with women survivors of violence with Autistic Loved. We serve individuals, specifically children with autism and their families. And so with our business, just kind of really understanding what the need is, listening to our clients or our customers, and then developing programming and also products around their needs. As a social enterprise, we've been able to, start a business, work to grow a business, but then also, with a social enterprise, we're a nonprofit as well. And so part of the growth is also connected to private donors and trust, establishing trust with private donors, also establishing trust with grant partners and organizers that help us to be able to bring in more resources so that we can do more for both organizations.
Wow. Well, let me see. You have ran two mission-driven businesses, and that is no small feat. So, what would you say are one or two challenges that you faced along the way, and how did you navigate them?
Well, again, I think for me, as a growing organization now with more resources, having exceptional staffing, and I think as a founder, and I'll be totally transparent, sometimes it's difficult to trust. You've started an organization that's for many of us is dear to our heart. It may be part of who we are and our own journey, our own story, and so to kind of be able to trust people to share in that mission and pay them to help you grow the mission. It's taken some time to learn that there are good people out here. We can't do it alone. We need help. We need good, trusted help, and to be able to move forward and grow in that way is very important.
So, what advice would you give to founders who are trying to build businesses that deeply serve their communities?
I would say it's important to um, listen to your heart, what you want to do. But I would also say sometimes we can create things that aren't necessarily connected to the needs of the community. So you also have to listen to the needs of the community too. With Autistic and Love, we started as a chewable jewelry company, and I, had this bright idea to create these pendants that look like children, that one that looks like my son and my daughter, and that was a great idea. Really, what customers were wanting and what families were wanting was easy access to these products. What they were wanting was a safe place to be able to be and a place to have fun, right? Where their kids could just be themselves. And so, out of me creating these chewable jewelry pendants, it eventually evolved into a sensory friendly kids gym that will be launching in just a couple of days. And the community is very excited, about this effort. And so, I would say, listen to your idea, but I would also say listen to your customers. And part of that is connected to customer discovery, asking your people what they need and what they want. Otherwise, you're creating a business that won't have any customers. And you'll have a bunch of inventory on your shelf for years in your basement. So you really have to listen to the needs of the community and pivot where you need to.
You know, so much of building successful businesses requires you to, think about the importance of building partnerships and fostering relationships with the community, and even, trying to find the right people. And oftentimes, that's not an easy thing to do, as you already mentioned. And I think, these connections are pivotal for your growth and for addressing challenges. So, talk to me a little bit about how have partnerships and collaborations contributed to your own success and the impact of your business, and what's your approach to cultivating partnerships and connections and relationships that you need in order to do the work that you do in your communities?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think for me, like one of my greatest mentors, even from a distance before I knew her, is Reverend Becca Stevens from Thistle Farms in Nashville, Tennessee. She started Thistle Farms 27 years ago. They have a healing home, but then a bath and body business as well, multi-million-dollar social justice enterprise, she calls it. Specifically, she uses the word justice enterprise very intentionally. But when I reached out to her many years ago when we started Argos House, eventually she was very open to just assisting. And she saw that we were trying, and she invited us to be part of this global shared network, invited me to be part of many different discussions, and even kind of trusted and vowed for us in different donor relationships as well. And so, she's just really been a gift as it relates to learning, partnering, or learning more about other justice and social enterprises around the country and developing and nurturing those relationships. It's really been a blessing. I think locally, what I realized, and I'm finally at this point, I think part of creating the documentary on in my local community about justice enterprises was very intentional because I realize now, and it's taken me some time, it's not about competition. We're stronger together, literally. Some people look at other organizations or businesses and they're like, they're my competition. And though they may be, literally we can help each other. So, how do we see what resources each one of us has, especially if you're in a local community, a place based, organization? And how do you intentionally develop trust, develop partnerships, and do your best to work together in community so that you can serve even more? And so, I've done that by, our team just getting on the ground, doing the best we can, communicating what we're up to, listening to the programming and the efforts that they're up to, sharing our resources when we can. And by doing that, other organizations have started to do the same for us as well. Because literally, our organizations are stronger together when we can have that communication and mutual respect.
That's good. As I think about your 7 to 8 year journey, I remember from the very beginning when you started this, and I think about how Argrove has shifted and grown and emerged into this wonderful social enterprise. And even, I think it was 2018, we were sitting together in Atlanta and you were showing me some of your first pendants, and now and and now Autistic and Love is, you've created a foundation, you got this sensory gym. So talk to us a little bit about what strategies, what decisions have been key to scaling both our growth health and Autistic and Love.
Yeah, I think for Autistic and Loved, there's been, as an autism mom, I understand the need because of my children, but really, the parents and children have told us what they needed. We had a humble beginnings. We started with zero, $0. Me and my husband put up the resources to be able to create those first pendants, to be able to have that first shop. But then I also did pitch competitions around the state to raise money. So I raised about $30,000 through pitch competitions. This was just a year and a half ago. So, it wasn't that long ago with Autistic and Love. And a donor outside of the Quad Cities saw the work that we were working to do with Autistic and Love, and they donated enough resources for us to start a foundation, purchase a commercial property, and create a handmade, a sensory gym, which isn't normal. That's not normal. That's definitely the grace of God. But I would say, for us, it's been just doing the best we can with what we have, even though we have very humble beginnings. And even though, doing this work can be difficult, especially, with Argos House, we're working with women survivors, trying to figure out, we've made pivots as far as figuring out programming. There are other organizations that are doing similar work around the country, but I realized that every context is different. So you have to figure out who you're serving, why you're serving them, what resources we have, what capacity we have, so that we're not trying to be something that we're not. And so it's taken some time it's taken some years to get to the point where we know we have housing that's focused on helping women heal, holistic care. Now in our program, women live for a year to 2 years rent free, and then we'll assist them in a first time home buyers program, right? That's what we do. We have a bath and body business. Now we have a cafe. That's what we do, and so, we it's taken some time to get there, but I think with time, with listening to the community, with learning hard lessons, you get that clarity around programming. And I think for Autistic and Love, families have just kind of, because there's such a need, families have just really kind of screamed what they've needed. And so we've listened to them, and it's just by the grace of God that we have the resources to create what families need.
Well, we're going to move into our resource roundup. And here we typically explore various resources and practical tools and tips that will equip and support underrepresented entrepreneurs as you build your businesses. So, Kit, I'd like to ask you this question. What advice would you give to early stage entrepreneurs about finding and securing the resources needed to start a mission driven business?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say understand that a mission driven business, if you have your 501(c)(3) status, there are three different streams of income there, not just your business, though the business part is important. But if you have a LLC, you're only able to keep the profit that comes from the business after you pay your taxes, all these other things. But if you also have a 501(c)(3), you have three different streams of income coming in: the profit from your business, the grant resources, and then also the private donations, which really, for the work that we do, it helps to keep the engine going, which is really, I think, really, really important. And so, that piece, I would say you have to share what you're doing. If you have an idea, and you want people to support you, it's not, you can't just, even though, posting on Facebook or Instagram once is helpful, it takes a lot more time and energy to be able to grow what you're doing. I think with Argos House, every weekend we were out in the community, we were sharing, we had tables, even when we didn't know how to make soap. We were literally, sharing our bath bombs. We were getting sign-up sheets for our newsletter, other things. And so we're always, always out, sharing what we're doing, and working to network. Every conference opportunity we have, we're there. And then for Argos House and Autistic and Love, to get that kind of seed money, Do Good X has the opportunity where you can pitch, for resources. Now it seems like everybody's getting on board. Maybe it's Do Good X, maybe it's Shark Tank. I'm not sure what's influencing people, but locally, regionally, statewide, nationally, there are pitch competitions where you can win 2,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, and that money literally helps to start and keep things going in the beginning. And I did the same for both organizations, and it really helped us to get things up and running.
Let me ask you this. As a social entrepreneur, what specific resources were a game changer for your venture and might be helpful to other founders who are trying to do good?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, Do Good X was huge, still is huge, because Do Good X, even after you go through the cohort, there's still resources, monthly conversations, also a network of people that. Once you kind of get in this network of Do Good X with Christians or social entrepreneurs, you kind of start seeing some of the same people throughout that are like-minded, and it's a ripple effect. You know someone who knows someone who knows someone. So every time I may need a resource, I reach out to the Do Good X team, and then we kind of connect and resource within each other, which is really helpful. Um, I would say, also working our network and, being able to move forward in those different ways. And so, super, super, important. Use your people, grow your people by getting out there and sharing what you're doing. And it can really help to move mountains as you continue to grow.
Not all funding aligns with mission driven visions. So, what strategies do you use to identify and secure the right resources that truly support your goals and values?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, uh, the thing is, as a nonprofit, oftentimes if you are applying for grants, sometimes those grants may be restricted. Sometimes those grants, may be, a lot of times people will shift their mission and to cater it to the grants. We are grateful we haven't, we don't do that, and we never have. But I would say be mindful of who you are. Even with starting a cafe next door, even the drinks that we were going to bring into the cafe, we had to think about it. Like, do we want to bring in this monster drink? Are we, not knocking anyone who does energy drinks, but I think that everything that you do, you start to be a bit more mindful of it, especially if you're trying to do things with intention, and holistic care within your organization. But I would also say, there's this whole movement of trust-based philanthropy, which is really beautiful. It means that, they're family trusts, they're private donors, they're people who just really have resources and they want to do good with their money. And so your organization is gifted these resources with no strings attached. And oftentimes that is true. Sometimes that may not be true. So I would just say, even with your donors, build those relationships, making sure that you're in open communication, you understand what expectations are as it relates to funding sources, so that you won't have any regrets as you move forward.
For those of you who are tuning in, are you inspired by Kit's story and ready to launch your business for good? Go to dogoodx.org to explore resources, courses, an online community, and an accelerator that can help you along in your journey. Now we're going to move to our segment called Off the Cuff. We have a series of questions that we have not shared with our guests and that we will ask at a fast pace. And we just want to hear your first initial thoughts that come to mind in an uncensored way. So, Kit, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So what is one daily, weekly, or monthly practice that sets you up for success as an entrepreneur?
Well, I wake up very early. Two things, I think. Waking up early. One thing I need to incorporate in an early waking up is self-care. Usually I wake up and I go straight to work, but my husband models for me how important it is. He wakes up and he actually exercises, for that first hour. And so I think that most entrepreneurs I know are early risers. It doesn't seem like there's always enough time in the day to do everything we need to do. But I say, if you are early riser, be mindful of taking care of yourself too, because that's equally important.
What's the best advice that you've received on your entrepreneurial journey?
I think there may be and I'm not sure if there's a difference, but I don't know if there's a difference between entrepreneur and social entrepreneur. With being a social entrepreneur, it's a different type of it's tough. It can be tough because it's not just the reality of making the business keep going, but it's also a matter of serving a marginalized population and making sure you're serving the best way that you can. And sometimes in the midst of serving, you can be very vulnerable. There can be boundary realities, and you can also have a broken heart. At times from the service that we that we do over the years. So I would say, the trying to think of the biggest, as far as business, I would say the biggest lesson is listen to your customers. I would say on the other side, as it relates to the social enterprise piece, is take care of yourself. Simple, but take care of yourself too, because who you are, your soul, your mind, your body, your spirit, it also matters in the midst of the hustle and bustle.
What do you do to navigate roadblocks and build your own confidence?
I probably need to have a whole mirror of affirmations. Um, that's a good thing. But I say build confidence. I am a lover of nature. And so my year of burnout was spent, for whatever reason, unconsciously, I was in Muir Woods like every other month for a whole year, just about a year and a half ago. So I think for me, nature helps to nurture me. I have a tree named Joy in Muir Woods. That's my friend. I need to go see her. But I would say, nature, and being around peaceful, naturistic things. Now in our sensory gym, we have a sensory chill spa, which has a very calming ocean image on the wall with a motion bubbler and a fiber optic octopus. I know it sounds really it sounds really interesting and doesn't sound as peaceful with that fiber optic octopus, but it's very relaxing. And so some of the tools that we're creating for children, with sensory and relaxing for special needs, I'll also benefit. We also have a greenhouse that's full of plants, here. And so what we're creating is for children, but I feel like it's also going to be really a gift for me and a lot of adults too.
How much of your success do you attribute it to your faith versus your own grit, will, or hustle?
Well, I thank you. I know Kimberly and you have talked about this grit with me, but it takes grit. You know, I know that certain things don't happen without the grace of God, like the grace of God helping with supernatural funding sources, the grace of God helping to create or have the creativity, the creative energy to create something that may not exist and to patent that. I don't think that that's something that just happens. I do think that that is something that is a gift from God that that comes forth to be able to serve someone else. But I also think that, what is it? Faith without works is dead. And you gotta, this takes work. It takes grit. It takes getting up early, going to sleep late. It takes having the thickest skin. Me, I'm still a God of love, God of peace person. But I used to be a tree hugger, skipping, all these different things. But being an entrepreneur and even a Christian social entrepreneur, you get thick skin to be able to do this work and sustain this work. And so, yeah, I would say that grit is important. The grace of God is important, but that grit is also important as well.
Complete this sentence. Because of my entrepreneurial endeavors, communities will be or are more able to do.
Communities will be blessed with resources to serve autistic kids for years to come, even when I'm no longer here, thank God. And communities will have a space in the Quad Cities community for women and children to heal from violence and abuse, even when Dr. Kit is no longer alive. And to be able to say that with conviction that if I am no longer here, which prayerfully I will live longer, but if I didn't, what I have planted has been planted and it will be here for years to come, even when I'm no longer here. And I'm grateful to God for that.
Kit, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're such an inspiration. Your work, your vision, your tenacity, and your faith, and you and your ministry, and the women and the children that you're serving is such an inspiration. And we're thankful that you, and wherever you are in your part of the world, that you are shining brightly through Argrow's house and Autistic and Love. So thank you for this wonderful story and sharing a little bit of part of your own journey with those who are listening and with us today.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for your time. All right. We appreciate you.
Wow, that was a wonderful conversation with Dr. Kit Ford. She is doing amazing work. And, one of the things that I'm thinking about is this question about who is one person or what's one thing that inspires you and why. As I listen to these, or I should say, as I participate in these interviews on the podcast, or I'm working with entrepreneurs, it's not just one person that I can say that really inspire me. It really are the women and men who take the courage, the leap of faith to actually uh, start a business for good. Of all the things that they could do with their lives and what they could, do in terms of their resources, they say, I have this idea, I have this thing that I actually want to work on and actually try to build something that it's not just for my own benefit, but actually will benefit a community of people. It's truly inspiring. And, I have the deep privilege and opportunity to be able to come alongside them and journey with them and to hear the pain points of what they're trying to wrestle with in the communities that they're trying to serve. And to know that in the face of so many no's, in the face of what may be perceived to not have enough resources or to not have all of the intelligence or knowledge that you would think one might need in order to do what it is that they're trying to do in the world, that they take a leap of faith and they believe in themselves that they have something that is not only beneficial to them, but to a larger community that is longing for more, that is desiring for better solutions to the challenges that they face, that somehow improves their lives so they can thrive and flourish in their respective communities. And I just think that that's just such a meaningful and purposeful and inspiring endeavor. And that Kimberly and I, we actually get the opportunity to walk alongside them and even to hear their stories about what they're doing, as you've heard on this podcast. And so I hope that you will listen to Dr. Kit's story and other episodes of people that we have encountered over the last several weeks, and that you will too be inspired to do what you do and hopefully do good in the world. Well, until next time, be well and do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.